Evictions are certainly a hot topic among landlords and property managers. Let me share some of the details about evictions locally here, and we're located in Franklin County, Ohio. I can share some of the costs and the procedures and processes you have to go through for an eviction, and also just kind of speak generally about where we are, at least here in 2021, in terms of the eviction moratorium and how we're handling that. So first, the normal process for handling an eviction when there isn't a moratorium is as follows. The tenant, of course, falls behind in rent. Hopefully that never happens, but for our example, if they fall behind in rent, about halfway through the month, we will go ahead and post a 3-day notice on the door. That's the first step in the eviction process. So that 3-day notice informs the resident that they have 3 business days to pay the rent in full or move out. If they do neither of those things, we're going to initiate the eviction process. So 3 business days later, we will check if they're still there and they haven't paid the rent. We will go ahead and send the eviction paperwork over to our attorneys, and they will in turn file that with the court. So at this point, we're around the 20th of the month approximately. And then from there, it's about 2 to 3 weeks to have a hearing scheduled. And at the hearing, we will appear, our attorney will appear and will testify, hey, this resident's still living at the property. They still haven't paid the rent. And typically, either at that hearing or the next hearing, we'll receive judgment. And that gives us the right to pursue a set out, which is the last step in getting a resident out of the property. So let me pause for a minute and talk about cost. So our company will charge $200 to handle an eviction start to finish. It's a one-time flat fee. We're not billing you by the hour for time spent dealing with the attorney or in court. Our attorney group charges a flat $100 to handle an eviction. And then there's some hard costs in terms of the court. The court costs are approximately $130 to file the paperwork and handle the eviction. So you're looking at probably somewhere around $400 or so, give or take, once we've actually filed the eviction and started down that road. We do charge the tenant so that if the tenant decides to do what we call a pay and stay, where they pay the balance, cancel the eviction and get caught up on the rent, that will make you, the landlord, whole in terms of your costs. So we find that happens about 50% of the time. The tenant makes the payment, gets caught up, everything just kind of continues on as normal. If they don't do that, then we'll proceed with the set out. We'll schedule with the bailiff and they will make sure that the property gets vacated. So in terms of timetable, you're looking around 45 days from the first day they were late up to about 60 days. So maybe 2 months of vacancy before we have possession of the property back and we're able to kind of move on and get it re-rented for you. Now, here in 2021, we have an eviction moratorium. So everything I just said is kind of out the window and it's being handled on a much more case-by-case basis. We're working closely with our attorney and other local attorneys to ensure that we're staying ahead of best practices in terms of how to resolve these issues with tenants and either get them caught up on the rent or have them move out without necessarily going through the formal eviction process, while at the same time protecting you, the landlord, from any legal liability. So contact our office if you want to hear more about that.